Well, Aaron, here we are.
Here we be.
You know, man, we've been on friends for so many years now.
Jalapenos. Since
Jalapenos.
Jalapenos.
Oh my gosh, do you remember how we weren't allowed to work with each other because of that?
Yeah, dude. I know. I hated that management to death.
When they found out we had become such good friends, like, oh, we can't let them work together.
Yeah.
We were like, yeah, jalapenos.
We would scream that from like across the whole freaking store. And then just be like, shut up! You don't do that, man!
Okay, so for those who we have to do a quick story time. Come close, guys.
Story time.
Let's talk about this whole story
How we met.
how Jalapenos came about.
Mhm.
I was a cashier. You were a bagger.
I was a bagger.
And you were bagging the groceries while I was scanning them. And I looked and I grabbed the bag of peppers. And I was like, Aaron, what are these? Because at the time, I didn't know my produce. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I just knew them as peppers and tomatoes and all that. You're like, well, they're called jalapenos, or as I like to call them, jalapenos. And for some reason, it just made me laugh so hysterically. And then because I was laughing, you started laughing. The customer probably thought we were high on drugs.
Yeah. I mean, fair assessment.
And so from that point on, it just became like an inside joke where like, you'd be on the other side of the store and I'd be able to, and we'd just yell, jalapenos!
To be fair, I would actually do that just to see if you were actually in the store too. All of a sudden, I'm like back in the bakery section. I'm like, I wonder if Tony's here. Jalapenos! And like down by like where we would go and get like the pharmacy, and all of a sudden I'd hear it come back across the whole way.
Okay.
Oh, so good.
So because of this, guys, like they would not let us work together. When they found out that we would become good friends, they would not let us work together. And so like they would schedule me like in the mornings, and I was just barely out of high school, and he still had like one more year of high school, and so they would make him work at night. So like we were just like, man, this sucks. Like,
yeah, dude, I was so mad by the end of that time when I got done working there. I remember that there was one day I worked from open to close because every single bagger called in sick that day because they were going to a high school dance. And I was like, well, can I go? And they're like, no, we need someone here. So I had to skip out on a high school dance because everybody else called in sick.
Dude, and they played favorites at that store. Like hardcore.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was some people that if you knew who they were and they, the relationship with like the store manager, they were treated like royalty.
There were some people, like, even after you left, like, there would be times when people would not cashier. They'd just go behind customer service and just chit-chat. Yeah. But if I ever did that, oh, man, I would have gotten yelled at and screamed at.
I remember I was trying to make myself look really cool, and I got my first cell phone. So to make myself look really cool, I would pretend that I was texting people, even though I had, like, no one's number at the time. And they saw me doing that, and so they made it a rule that if when I came in, they would take my cell phone.
Well, they threatened to do that with me too, and the operations manager was like, "Yeah, I have family in Japan that we could call on your phone." And I talked with this guy that was in. It was actually the dad of that girl I had a crush on that I joined Ballroom for. I talked with her dad about it. He's like, "Yeah, they probably shouldn't have said that because that's your property, and they could have gotten in a lot of trouble for saying that."
Yeah.
But anyway, so
story time.
We've been friends for 10 plus years. It's been a long time.
Since about 2006. So actually
2005.
2005. I graduated in 2007.
But that's when we first met, was in 2005.
Yeah. You realize that is 20 years next year.
Oh my gosh. Dude, we're old.
We are so old.
We're old. Anyway, and so you brought up something to a point. You brought up a point to me maybe like a month and a half ago that during all this time we haven't really talked about music that we both enjoy.
Yeah. And
so today we're going to be reacting to it. She's an American artist that we both know. She's a member of our faith. But I haven't seen this video. You haven't seen this video. So Lindsey Stirling.
Oh, yeah, I haven't listened to her in years.
And so apparently this music video has been getting a lot of big, like, good reviews, and she like even did a premiere for it. I was at work when they did the premiere, so I couldn't watch it. So it's probably a good thing because we're gonna be reacting to it today.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Lindsey Stirling, she's an American violinist. She also does some vocals. She got her
Yeah, she was on one of the
America's Got
talent shows.
Talent.
That's it. I couldn't remember.
And she got voted off, and they said that the judges were really harsh to her when they were judging her. They said it sounded like screaming rats or something. I don't know. It was something like that. Like,
yeah.
And so, fun fact about that is that after she got voted off, and her family just were like, "Hey, you did awesome. Just keep going." And like her dad and mom were basically like the two people that were like, just keep going. You got this.
Yeah.
She had some YouTube videos go viral. She ended up going back to that show to perform for the audience as a musician, like it's like 6 months or a year later. And she basically proved all those judges wrong, which I thought was cool. I was like, ooh, karma.
I actually think I remember hearing somewhere that they had actually issued an apology to her.
If they did, I would hope that that's true, because
I feel like I heard that somewhere, that there's like, we were totally wrong. You had the right idea. You had the vision for it, and you saw in it what we didn't. Something like that.
Well, so like I listened to like her story about like what happened after she was voted off. She went backstage. She was crying. She was in the makeup room that she was in, and she was just like in tears. And she's like, they were basically forcing me out. I didn't. They're like, you got to get out. We need this room. And she said the first thing that happened to her when she got out to meet her family is her dad just welcomed her with a warm embrace, like, "Hey, you did awesome.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Like, don't listen to them. Just keep going." And now here we are. It's now 2024. That was in the early 2010s. And she's one of the most successful violinists on the YouTube platform.
Well, not only that, but probably just in music in general. I mean, how many listeners a month does she have on Spotify? Like 12 million, something like that?
I mean, it's impressive. Are you looking it up right now?
3.2 million.
See it?
Persistence is key. I think that's the thing with her, is the fact that she went through what she went through. And then I think the nice thing is, though, is that she didn't stop.
Exactly.
And she had a good support system, too.
Well, and see, there's another thing I really like about Lindsey, and that is she's held strong to her morals and her virtues and everything. She hasn't let the ways of the world get the best of her, and she's very humble. Like, I've watched so many videos of behind the scenes, or when she like just surprises people out of nowhere. She's not like, she doesn't have that Hollywood attitude like, "Oh, I'm better than you." She's like, "You are so awesome." Like, she's always so happy to like greet people, and that's what I feel like is needed, especially like whether it be in the musical field on YouTube or just in general. But having that humble mindset of like knowing like where you came from and where you've come is so important.
For sure. I mean, she knows what it's like to be the kind of person that people didn't believe in, that they mocked, and all that other stuff. That she didn't want to be that person to make someone else feel like that either.
So, without further ado, everyone,
I don't even know the name of this song, so let's check it out.
The name of the song is called "Eye of the Untold Her," official music video. And I
hope it's official. That's good.
We're gonna do full screen so everyone can see it. Very important. I haven't seen this. Now, really quickly, Aaron, the reason why this ties in with your niche and my niche is, so I'm a videographer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at the videography aspects of this, and I'm also I have a guitar, I sing, but you are big into the music genre.
Yeah. For those of you who don't actually know, and you actually know this person, but I took lessons as a vocalist from someone that we both know, Casey Elliott. And yeah, and in fact, that's coming to my channel, by the way. Then the next thing that was interesting is after that, I realized that because he got signed on to go do Aida in Europe. His theater troupe got paid to go do Aida in Europe. And so that's when I decided to get into the metal vocal stuff. And so that's when I started learning from the vocalist of a group called Tella. And I've been playing guitar roughly since about 9th grade, and I played piano too. And in fact, I actually throw up quite a few shorts on my channel about me just playing K-pop songs on the piano. And usually it's on a broken piano, so it sounds really cool. It's all like deep and resonant and stuff like that. It's cool.
Well, so now, see, like I've been playing guitar since my senior year of high school, and so I have a Yamaha acoustic. It's sitting in my room right now as we speak. I need to bust the thing out again and start playing again, but well, life gets in the way.
Dude, the funniest thing, I have my electric guitar is a Dean, and then my acoustic guitar is a Martin. So together I have Dean Martin.
That's awesome.
Right?
But a little fun fact, I actually am really good friends with the Elliott family. Like his parents were like, I'm really good friends with them. Like I've been over to their house several times. I've talked with his dad quite a bit. And I know Casey very well. He's a very cool guy. He's very down to earth, and
he's a great singer.
Yeah, very good singer.
So the interesting thing is that he married my neighbor.
Oh, really?
His wife, I think it's Zerelda, and her sister is actually still lives like down the road, like no more than 2 minutes away. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I've known her my whole life.
So without further ado, that's how we are. This is tying in with us. Let's watch this amazing video that I've heard good things about this from Lindsey. Lindsey, if you're watching, this is gonna be awesome.
Could you imagine?
One problem: the violin. To do what you do, you've got to be a world-class violinist.
Oh, how she looked when she got voted off.
With you need to be
I love the mix.
You need to sing it.
Never time for it sounded to me like a bunch of rats being strangled.
Really quickly, Aaron, what do you notice about this that you really like?
Well, I'm going to kind of go off the music standpoint first and foremost. The very first thing that I notice is that basically what she seems to be playing is something that's meant to call attention, but it's kind of written in more of a minor tone, so it's a little bit sadder. But it's definitely drawing attention to obviously what we were just talking about with her being on America's Got Talent.
So obviously, I noticed the music, being a musician myself, but I love the fact that like the camera just zooms right in on her and it's showing her emotion about how she's feeling, because those judges were pretty harsh on her. And I love the fact that like you have this mist, this fog around it, so she's not even sure like where she's going to go with this, and that's what I noticed.
Yeah, it's definitely a feeling of being lost.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're not good enough. You're not good enough.
Oh. That's cool. That's cool. The videography is amazing.
She's bringing back that cosplay style.
Well, and see, that's the thing is like that's one thing I've always enjoyed about the Lindsey Stirling music videos is that she has cosplay in it.
Yeah,
and she doesn't just, it's not just her just up there just like wearing some everyday clothes. She like takes time to really methodically think out and plan out her music videos.
Yeah, I think musically speaking, I kind of like the way that she did that there, because when she picks the other version of her picks up the guitar, the music starts to soar, right? Like it's the sign of, like, the way she wrote it is basically it's the sign of her regaining her confidence as being a player. We both know this, but like her big video, at least for me that I remember, was when she played the Legend of Zelda music.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of bringing that reminiscence back. So
Well, one thing that I like about that, because Aaron, real quick, let's bring this back to us. So, Lock Nation or whoever's watching, when I started this journey as a YouTuber, I always do that in quotations because it's just, to this day, it still feels weird calling myself a YouTuber, but I'm a YouTuber.
yeah.
So when I first started this channel, no one believed in me. I people at work were saying, I'm working on becoming a YouTuber, and I kid you not, Aaron, I don't know if I ever told you this. I had a coworker who I said, I'm working on becoming a YouTuber, and that coworker looked at me and said, "Good luck with that." With the most sarcasm they should, as they could emphasize in their voice.
Yeah.
And I had family that judged me, and so when I see that other version of her, picking up the violin, it reminds me of like where I'm at now, looking at where I was and saying like, "Hey, this is me. This is you in the future. Just keep going."
Yeah. It's a bit of an interesting situation just because, I think we'll probably find this out throughout the rest of the song, but it's definitely a roller coaster. There'll be your highs and lows.
Exactly. All right, on with the show.
Jeez, that wind's crazy.
That is cool. I love the videography. Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, this Dancing with the Stars. She was on that.
Yeah. I think she won. Or maybe it was like second or third.
I'm pretty sure she won. And
yeah,
the thing about it was her and her dancing partner had such good chemistry. And again, that brings us, it all comes back full circle with you, with me, because we both joined ballroom dance for girls we had crushes on.
Yeah.
You ended up dating that girl that you
well, the interesting thing is like I didn't even know her prior. And actually she hated me. She told me that. And I'm one of those people, especially back then, that I didn't like when people didn't like me because I was like, why? Like, what did I ever do? So I sought to prove that wrong, and I did eventually.
You won her over because you dated her. Now, I didn't date the girl that I joined for, which was probably a good thing because she turned out to be a little crazy.
Yeah.
But that's what I like about this is that it brings it full circle because, oh man, we could do a whole series on some of the stories of things we experienced while being in that ballroom dance group. From me getting kneed in the eye to just the weird dances that or the weird music that we had to dance to, like High School Musical. I'll probably get some hate for that in the comments. Sorry. It was kind of weird having to dance to like High School Musical stuff when we were basically adults.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, in a sense, yeah, but we were still pretty young though.
We were still young and naive.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think I have quite a few stories with ballroom, and a lot of it would have to kind of behind a paywall for certain reasons. So
yeah, so chat. I think this is a live stream. My bad. Guys, if you want to hear that, all those stories like in a maybe like a video or something, or maybe it be on my channel or on Aaron's channel, make sure you tell me in the comments below, because like there are some pretty intense horror stories from the time that we were in ballroom. Oh man. And one of them, at least one or two of them, were very painful physically for me.
Oh yeah.
And they left a mark literally for weeks after. And this guy right here made fun of me for it for a good week and a half to 2 weeks after.
Well, so the truth of the matter is that I kind of expanded a little bit past what we were doing there. That's how I got into admitted to college, was through ballroom, and I was on the ballroom college team. And so it was really kind of funny because I had to do the college one first, and then I'd come back and do the one for the high school. And the stuff that we were doing there was so much more basic that I had to admit, it's kind of funny when that happened. One of the things that I thought about is just because like it was during a lift, and I just remember like you didn't quite get the momentum up enough, and you couldn't quite heft her. And she wasn't like, she's not a big gal.
No, she wasn't. I just didn't
So-
squat down good enough.
Yeah, and I was just kind of like, oh, that's some bad positioning, and probably didn't have your hands in the right spot, and like some of this other stuff. And so I just kind of was like, oh, Tony, what are you doing?
So yeah, guys, if you want to know this story in full context and other stories we have from this, make sure you tell me in the comments below, because I will be looking for those comments, and this guy right here will be looking for him too. We'll be looking for him.
It's a story.
Anyway,
It's-
let's
there's
go on
some
back to the
stories.
video. That's so cool. Oh, I remember that music video. That was a cool one. So, fun fact: this music video that she's
That
mentioning about-
Chrysalis, right? I think is what it's called.
yeah, and she filmed it up in Midway, Utah,
That's right. Up by the ice castles.
the ice castles,
Yeah,
which I have
You can
yet
tell.
to go up to.
that would be cool to do. Do some
That would be
photos up
cool
there.
to do. Maybe next year.
Maybe.
I love this. I just love this so much. A videographer standpoint, I think it's from a music lover standpoint. So cool. Oh, you know what that's from, right?
Yeah, of course. I
Her
think I've
first
seen most
album.
of her music videos, to be real.
Yeah.
I
This is-
kind of took a break during the Artemis period when it was like her and Amy Lee from Evanescence.
uh-huh.
That's kind of where I fell off. Not because I wasn't really looking like I didn't like it, but I was into kind of some of the more heavier stuff.
One of my favorite music videos from her, from Lindsey, is honestly the Roundabout Table.
Mm.
And it's like, because it takes place in the West.
Yeah.
And it's like I remember when I first watched it, I was so I sat there at work because I was allowed to be on my phone at work at the time. I worked at a mattress company. I literally sat there and watched it like 3 or 4 times in a row because I was like, "This is such a cool music video." Man, I love the videography. I like the fact that you see her point of view, and there's so much I can talk about. But I have to talk about this real quickly. I love the fact that like she's walking into the it's making her look like she's walking into the unknown.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that as musicians, as content creators, we are consistently doing on a daily, weekly, monthly, minute. I don't want to say minutely because that's not a word. Yearly. That's what we do. Like basically like a good majority of our time is we're walking into the unknown, not knowing if things are going to pop off, not knowing if we're going to be successful.
Yeah, I'm musically speaking here too. She starts doing the plucking on the violin. And the way that it's kind of written out is kind of like in a tone of curiosity.
Exactly.
So, and I think that that's so cool because like as she's going in, and I'd kind of like to think that what you just saw there in the video ties with the music, obviously, because it's kind of like what basically would have happened if she didn't have her confidence.
Yeah. So, Aaron, when I first started playing guitar,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't own a guitar at the time. I had to borrow a friend's guitar. He's like, "Yeah, you can borrow it however long you need." And so it was a Fender acoustic, which is a pretty nice guitar.
Fender is pretty nice.
And so I remember just sitting there in my guitar class at high school, just like not even being able to understand the whole concept of tuning your strings,
Yeah.
not being able to switch chords while strumming. And I remember losing this confidence. And I just remember as I started trying harder and harder and really started putting some effort into it, things started kind of not magically falling into place, but like my fingers started finally cooperating.
Yeah.
And that's what I think about with Lindsey, is that, you know, when she was on America's Got Talent, Piers Morgan was not the nicest guy to her.
Yeah.
He was pretty harsh, as we all saw in the starting of this video, and it knocked her confidence down.
Yeah,
When
I think is totally understandable.
Completely understandable. When I was in that guitar class, I had people make fun of me. I wasn't able to, you know, get the strings down or be able to learn how to tune my chords and all that kind of stuff. And I remember one time, it's kind of embarrassing to even say, but I was tuning my chords on my guitar, and I was turning it up so high that the string broke.
Bing! Yep.
Bing! And I was just like, you got to be freaking kidding me.
Yeah.
I was tuning my strings so hard that the string broke. My teacher looked at me and said, you still got to play. I don't care if you're missing a string, you still have to play, because if you want to get credit for today, you have to play.
Dang, that's tough.
And I'm grateful for that, for what he said, though, because he was trying to teach me a lesson that, like, hey, life happens. You move on.
Yeah. Perfect. But I think that's a great analogy for where we're at in the video, too.
Let's go back to it, because this is great. This is amazing. Oh, the loss of her dad. That was the loss of her dad.
Okay.
It's either loss of her dad. It could symbolize. So, guys, if you don't know who Lindsey Stirling is, we've already been talked about her. But she was to cancer. You know, cancer sucks. I've lost people that were near and dear to me to cancer. But then a few years later, she lost her best friend, Gabby. I want to say he also had cancer. I could be wrong. But, you know, it took an emotional... I remember listening to an interview that she did, and how, like, the week after she had lost her dad, and how she just felt so distraught. And there was, you know, I won't go spiritual on this, because I don't want to, you know, people to know. I don't want to be like, this is what I believe.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was through spiritual guidance that she was able to help pick herself up. And that's what was it, because, you know, her dad was her biggest fan.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's just, that's something that I don't look forward to, is having to say goodbye to a parent.
Yeah.
And for someone like me, I've lost a brother, and that was still something that I deal with, actually, still to this day. So,
well, and see, like, I lost a nephew back in 2015, and he unalived himself the first day of school. And so that's something I deal with to this day.
Yeah.
And a little known fact, Aaron, I don't even know if you know about this. My dad had cancer.
Yeah.
He's in remission now. But I remember talking with him on the phone one day, and he said, eventually this will take my life. Because the kind of cancer he had, it's the kind of cancer that if they catch it soon enough, they can cure it, and he just continue on with life.
Yeah.
But they didn't catch his in time. Now he's in remission.
Yeah.
But because he's in remission doesn't mean it can't come back, because it can come back. So I really feel
that stuff.
Lindsey right here. I really feel for Lindsey right here.
Yeah.
That's the music video. Let's talk about. How about people? So cool. What are we watching so much? Talk about right now. Wow.
That was a sick transition. Hey, that's Derek Huff.
Like,
that's Derek Huff.
Man. Can we just talk about those transitions for a sec, Aaron?
Yeah. Do you realize that the person dancing with her in that is Derek Huff?
Yeah. Because
that's sick.
He's one of her good friends.
Yeah. You know, the interesting thing is I remember one time when I was doing a display for one of my for when I was in college, and we had to do something in front of Derek Huff and Julian or Juliana. I forget his sister's name.
You know, and Derek
That
Huff,
was intense.
he has ties to Utah too. His family lives here in Salt Lake City.
Bro, they are both really, really good dancers, and doing anything in front of Derek Huff is extremely intense.
Well, and see, like, but like the thing that I enjoy about both these two, you know, Lindsey and Derek, is that, you know, they may seem intimidating. Like,
I don't know if I'd say Lindsay's very intimidating. She's
well,
a
no,
sweet girl.
like the way that they dance may seem intimidating. That's what I'm trying to.
There you go. Okay.
You mean what I know? You mean what I know?
I was like,
you told me that.
maybe
You're
not.
the one that said that to me when we were in ballroom dance. You mean what I know?
You mean what I know? I say that a lot still.
And so, but the way, you know, because Derek's a professional dancer, Lindsey's a professional dancer, so it's kind of intimidating, you know, for someone. If someone was to be dancing right next to them, they're like, "Oh my gosh, they're just gonna like out dance me." But these two are so down to earth. They would be the kind of people that would just go like, "Hey, this is what you need to do. And this is how you do it."
That's pretty much exactly how he was. When we got done, he pulled us all aside and told us some stuff, and it was really cool. But he has that kind of eye, and it's kind of surreal, actually.
From humble beginnings, right?
Yeah, they just want growth.
All right, let me share my screen again.
Yeah, share it. Jeez.
Sorry, gosh. We didn't even talk about the transitions. I just realized that.
Yeah.
We got so caught up in the dancing part.
Yeah.
What I like about the transitions is that, like, as a videographer, you know, transitions are not easy. They're not. Like,
No.
anyone watching this, like, if you're struggling with transitions, like, I feel your pain. But just the way that Lindsey did those transitions was so cool.
Yeah.
It was like something straight off the silver screen.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you see her dancing, you know, but you see her like just different parts of, not different parts, different scenes of her dancing, doing the same motions. Oh my gosh, I can't even put into words how cool that is.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think one thing that probably helped out, and I don't want to, like, I know a lot of people like to disparage it, so I'm not going to. But I think, honestly, one of the things that has been absolutely key about having TikTok is actually having people having to learn how to do transitions. Mm-hmm. And I think that is actually something, because, I mean, she's always had pretty cool transitions, but that was like...
It was like...
Yeah, it was perfect, too. So...
Yeah, it's like...
She's pretty active on TikTok, so I wouldn't be surprised if she learned some stuff for her music videos through that.
Well, I mean... Man, the transitions themselves were just, oh my gosh, I can't even put into words how cool that is. Like,
yeah,
and it's so professionally well done as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, back to it. That is so cool. I love this so much. Okay, that transition. Whoa. Okay, hang on a sec. We got to talk about this. We got to talk about this.
I like how she had the radioactive part there.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. But I like this because, you know, she goes from this music video right here.
High fantasy into sci-fi.
What?
High fantasy into sci-fi.
Yeah, back. And then she's like in sci-fi. And then she's, man, oh my gosh. Lindsey, you're killing me with all these cool transitions.
You know, just imagine trying to make these. Like, she probably had to do that so many times, dude. That's ridiculous.
Dude, it just reminds me of those horror stories from when we did ballroom dance. How many times did we all mess up?
Yeah.
And how many times did our dance teacher or whatever, she's like, you men need to put your hips into it more. We were just like,
yeah, especially when it was Latin dance too. You had to be very sexy.
Very, very sexy.
Yes. And it was pretty wild, but yeah, you do. I think the truth of anything when it comes to musical performance like this is there is always going to be a fear of performing this kind of stuff. And the truth of the matter is that you just got to do it, man. You just got to move forward. You got to just take that step, because guess what? That's how you get good. That's how you get good.
Yeah, no, it's really true. You know, success is on the other side of the unknown.
Yeah.
And, you know, like going back to, so when I started this channel, it was all just about just photography. I was like, I'm just gonna focus on photography. I'm not gonna do anything else, just gonna focus on photography.
Yeah.
But then I got to thinking about it. I'm like, you know, I'm good in videography, I'm good with tech. And I at first, like, I was hesitant even starting a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I don't want to be one of those people like, oh, you're a YouTuber?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I do want to say though, like, it's true. I find it so interesting because, like, you had been putting in a lot of work for a long time on this. I mean, because even now, if you go back and look at your first video that you ever did, I mean, how many years has it been now? 3? 4? And man, I mean, you've been fairly consistent. I think, you know, obviously there's always been some highs and lows, but I think the interesting thing is that still you haven't given up, and I think that that's what's important.
No,
It's with everything. If you give up, then you never see what you would accomplish.
you know, my brother, I was on a FaceTime call with my brother last night. He's up in Portland, Oregon right now, finishing up his master's degree. And he said to me, he's like, you know, Tony, he's like, I know I texted you about this the other night. He's like, but seriously, good job, man. He's like, your YouTube channel is killing it. He's like, your views are through the roof. And I'm not sitting here like on my pedestal, but he's just like, you've had so much adversity against you, so many people, so many naysayers that have just like, just give up. You know, he's just like, and you just kept trying. You just kept putting out stuff, and now you're starting to see that. You know, he was giving me all these compliments, and I really appreciated that about him. That because he's been, you know, my brother Dan, he's been such a support to me. Even, you know, being a couple states away, like he's just still like, "How's your channel going, man? Like,
yeah,
what are you doing
for
with it
sure?"
now? And just hearing that from him, and then hearing that from you,
yeah,
makes me feel so much better as not just a content creator, but just as a human being.
Well, you know, I think there's a couple of facets to this, and I think that one thing that you have to realize is, like, you started off really rigid, but you know, there's kind of a point in time where you were pretty nebulous too. Like, you were doing like streaming day deals for Amazon, and I'm like, why would you ever do that? That does not make any fetching sense. Like, I remember getting this text message from you. I'm sitting there like in the middle of work. I was working in the mortgage industry at the time, and you're like, "Hey, I'm streaming about these good deals on Amazon Black Friday." And, like, I was like, dude, I seriously, I hate to tell you this, but I just did not freaking care about that. I was just like, not even remotely even touching.
The lessons we learn.
Yes. I think you're in a good spot now. I think that obviously, I think you're starting to get the idea. So
I completely forgot about that. Like, I completely forgot about that. Or like when I would react to like other content creators reacting to someone else, and just
oh my goodness,
just like, bro, you're like,
yeah, Peter McKinnon. I remember when you put that out, and I think I even commented on that as like, Tony, just react to the videos yourself. You don't need to react to him reacting. What are you doing?
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of transitions, you made the transition.
I made the transitions.
Well, should we continue with the sound?
Yeah. So cool. Videography is amazing.
But you're not good enough.
Not good enough.
So,
Yet.
could you do me one favor?
Oh, did you hear that?
After this, I got a favor to ask of you.
Yeah. Hang on, let me.
Enough.
But you're not good enough.
Not good enough. Yet.
Oh, I love that.
So can you go back to probably around the 250 mark?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, maybe go back just a little bit more. Keep going. Okay, right here. Play right here.
That's from Shatter Me, by the way.
Hmm?
That when she was in the little crystal ball, that's from Shatter Me.
Yeah. Go back and let that play for a minute. Okay, go ahead and pause it. So what I really like, and what I was trying to kind of dig out of that is one thing that I really like is when you listen to that specific spot, she's confronting herself from the Shatter Me video. When you listen to the music, it starts to crescendo.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you remember much in kind of like doing music study and like music theory, there's something that's called creating tension.
Yeah.
Where basically, like, as you're playing, it's like, and as you build and you build and you build, then she gets that part where the glass breaks, and then it goes back into the chorus. And I really thought that was just a really cool way to actually do a good release of that tension from her building up that crescendo.
Well, so when I was, because like I've been in, so when I was in high school, I was part of a show choir my senior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lyric show choir, and I was a bass baritone, like more of a baritone. I don't have that deep voice in him, obviously. But like we had to have that. We had to do those crescendos, those, have that tension.
Oh yeah.
Because when you're in a show choir, you're not just performing for yourself.
Yeah.
You're representing your school. And like my choir teacher, like there'd be times like when we would just like either somehow get that wrong, and he just like he would just stop the music and he's like, nope, do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I sung in this choir that went all over the world, our choir director, like if we didn't pronunciate the words correctly, she would stop us and say, no. And she would basically tell us like, we'll be here all night if we have to. So like, you have to get this exactly on key. Like you have to get this on key. You have to do everything, the pauses, the crescendos, everything right on key.
Mm-hmm.
Now this choir director, she was getting a doctorate in music theory.
Yeah.
So she
knew what she was talking about. Yeah, no, it's crazy. But I really liked that in that song though, just that feeling of the crescendo really build. And I was wondering whether or not, because there's kind of two ways that you can kind of go about making that tension relieve itself. And one is that it keeps going higher. So she could have kept going, or what she did was go into the chorus and kind of let the rest of it play out as it was. And I really like how she decided to go about that, because I think and you might have actually remember hearing about this when you were in show choir, but like the melody is kind of like home base, right? So if you're seeing it, it's like no matter what you're doing in the off, whatever, the melody is where you always come back to. And that's what she did there. And I thought that was pretty cool.
And, it takes a lot of time and practice to really master that, because, I was someone who as a kid was very shy. I didn't really like standing up there in front of everybody. Like I was like, nope, that's not me.
Yeah.
And, and also when it comes to like mastering things.
Yeah. You go ahead and finish your story.
When it comes to mastering things, like I wasn't the best at mastering things. Like when I was in like junior high, But then by the time I got into like high school, I started like being able to master things, especially when it came to music, because
Mhm.
you know I was raised with music. I was my mom growing up. She would blast like classic rock. She would blast old school like oldies and everything. So I was raised with it, and so I think it was in high school when I started finding my confidence when it came to my musical abilities.
Yeah.
So
So when you were saying like, I had to go back to the ballroom days for this particular story, but there was one time I remember when I was up in the at the college doing this, and we were doing a tango. And at the time, there was a movie that was really popular called Moulin Rouge, and we were doing the Roxanne tango, and they put their own twist on it. But the very first thing that I remember is like I remember getting there, and I was doing like what we knew in high school, and I remember my teacher's wife walked up, and she's like, "You're doing it wrong." I was like, "How so?" And she grabbed me and my companion and like smashed us together. So like our cheeks, she's like, "If your cheeks are not touching, you're doing it wrong." And so, like, you have to understand at this point, I was like 17 or 18 years old. And this girl that I was doing it with is, I think at the time she was in her mid 30s. So, like, you have to understand, like, I was like, oh my goodness, I have never been so close to a girl before. And so, dude, I was like smashed up against her. So I was just like sitting there, like, the whole time, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She's like, this is part of it. Don't even worry about it. This is part of it. And she was super awesome. I loved her to death. But that was, talk about getting uncomfortable and like breaking that, like having to be unshy when you are literally, cheek to cheek with a girl. And
yeah. So it was actually because of ballroom. Like, so before ballroom, like I hadn't really, like, I mean, I danced with girls. Like, when you're in high school, you take like
you do the
social
tri
dance
dance
class and everything.
Yeah, you do the Y dance.
And so, and you're just like, yeah, that's cool. But like, if you're watching this, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a tip when it comes to girls. If you really want to break your awkwardness when it comes to with girls, do ballroom dance. Because if you're uncomfortable, they will break you from being uncomfortable. Because with ballroom dance, there are no boundaries for the most part. Like
There's no boundaries.
I remember the first time I was taught the can opener. I was like, wait, what do I do? I was like, wait. And they're like, well, she jumps in your lap and then she flings her leg over your head and then you hold on to her. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I was like, wait, what? Like, I kind of had a little mini panic attack because like, I was like,
just like,
as
are
close
you
to
serious?
a girl I've ever been.
Yeah.
And then they're like, and I remember them telling me, like, just don't drop her. Just whatever it takes, do not drop her. I'm like, okay, no pressure.
No pressure at all. Yeah. There is a couple of things like that I remember being up at when I was up at the college, and there is zero boundaries.
No, yeah,
there's zero boundaries.
When it comes to ballroom dance, there are zero boundaries. And when people find out you know how to ballroom dance, like even after all these years, when people find out, like, wait, you know how to ballroom dance? I'm like, yeah. That is so cool. We should go dance. I was like,
it's not the same.
Yeah, about that. I think I gotta go.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy though. There's a lot that goes behind that. But anyway, that was my funny story.
No, honestly, Aaron, I really loved what Lindsey said at the very end when she said, "Not good enough yet."
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like photography, for example, when I first started in photography all those years ago, when I was a little kid, I was really fascinated by cameras. I had a air bubble come through my esophagus or something like that. But when I was that little kid, I didn't know anything there was to know about photography. All I knew is I like taking photos. Like, oh, Mom, can I borrow your camera? Oh, bro, can I borrow your camera? And each time they're like, just be super careful with it. It's not a toy. I was like, I know it's not a toy. You had that mindset, but like, I wasn't good. And even when I got my first DSLR, I was still not good. Like I remember after that first free photo session I did, where my mentor, who was one of my older siblings, he just like butchered my photo session. Like he just like critiqued it very harshly. He wasn't doing it to be a jerk.
Yeah.
He was
Because you needed
doing
to
it
learn.
to teach me about how to take photos.
Yeah.
And Lindsey, they said that she was not good enough then, but again, it all comes back to that I'm not good enough yet.
Mm-hmm.
You fast forward. So when I first started as a professional photographer, when I first started becoming a professional photographer, which I am a professional photographer, I don't know why I just did the quotations.
Because you were still new at that point. You were as professional as you are now.
Yeah, there we go. I wasn't good yet,
Mm-hmm.
but then it got to the point where people were referring other people to me, like, "Hey, I got this referral. Someone referred you to me, and I need to have these photos taken."
Yeah.
Or there's people saying like, "Wow, can you take my daughter's photos for her senior for her senior portraits?" I was yeah. It got to the point where like I started gaining that momentum, that confidence, and even though people were quick to criticize some of my photos, they still are like, "Hey, you're doing awesome. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep improving."
Yeah.
Same with YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. When it comes to criticism, like there's two ways that you can go about criticism, and that's letting it break you or letting it make you. And I mean, I've had some criticisms as well, and that's fine and dandy, and you know kind of why you do what you do, but you got to know that there are times where criticism is a way to learn.
Aaron, you bring up a good point, and that is, in the entire time that you and I have been friends, you've talked to me about a lot of people who have criticized you for things like, oh, his life's not going anywhere, or things like that. I won't get into detail because that's not my place to say.
Yeah.
But did that stop you?
No.
Because you had that goal in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsey had her goal in mind.
Yeah. I think there's something that's kind of just unique about some people. For me personally, I think the thing is that I just always knew I was never fully cut out for like the typical 9 to 5 for 60 years.
Yeah.
And I think when I started to realize that was the truth, that's when I first started to try and do some stuff. And I think that once you kind of realize that that's what it is, you just realize that there's going to be no job that's going to be as satisfactory until you get to where you're supposed to be.
Aaron, when I was in high school, I bring this up a lot because I had a lot of criticism in high school from teachers, from fellow students. I basically had a teacher basically tell me that she didn't think I was going to amount to much in life. She was my senior year English teacher. And I just thought in my mind, like, what the heck is your problem? Like, you're supposed to be inspiring and encouraging students. But I took that as an initiative to prove her wrong and to prove myself wrong.
Yeah.
And, it's criticism is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And it does a number on people. But as long as you have the determination, like you, like me, like Lindsey, like so many others, because like you, I realized pretty quickly I wasn't cut out for the 9 to 5 job. I was like, I just thought in my mind, like there's a myth around this 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
I just don't agree with. You go to an office for 60 years and then you retire and then you die. Like there's something about it I just didn't get along with. I didn't agree with.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And so my first time when I started thinking about doing things like this was actually on a podcast, which might be coming back in the future. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But it was because of that I started dabbling into content creation with my photography, videography, and everything. But my point being this, I kind of rambled right there. But my point is this: constructive criticism can work wonders.
Oh yeah.
And you and I both have been in those situations where people didn't think that we were going to amount to much in our lives. I've had girls tell me that. I've had school teachers tell me that. I've had church leaders tell me that they didn't think I was going to go very far in life. And here I am.
Yeah. Still progressing forward.
Still progressing forward, moving forward, and just loving life.
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that there's just a lot that goes on. I think it's because so many people just don't understand how things work, especially in the content creator space, that it seems too far-fetched. It's like, oh, you're just watching or recording yourself doing, photos. How's that ever going to make money? It's like, well, it's just it just comes from lack of understanding.
But going back to the video, Lindsey Stirling has come a long way. But I've been a fan of Lindsey Stirling from the get-go. I've been watching her stuff from the time she started all the way to now. And one of the things that I've always kind of pulled from her story is that you just got to keep going.
Yeah.
You got to keep pursuing, and there will be naysayers. But the thing I loved most about this video is the fact that, like, she was herself when she was, getting voted, when she got voted off of America's Got Talent, but she saw her future self. She saw the music that she was going to be producing, the videos, everything, and how happy she was. And she thought in her mind, I want this.
Mm-hmm.
How can I obtain this? And, Aaron, to be honest with you, that's what I have. That's what I've already received confirmation through personal experiences that this is my correct route in life to go.
I think the one thing that's kind of interesting is that when I grew up, I remember we used to have a family friend. We'll just call him Hogan, and he used to tell us, my family, and now bear in mind he's a near billionaire. And he straight up told us one day that he did a I'm going to use some old cans that I have here to kind of do the representation. Basically, like, let's say this is your dream, right? You want this dream. This is your obstacle. But if you position it just right, you still can't see your dream, even though the obstacle is smaller. And so his idea was dream big, but don't make your obstacles bigger than your dream. And that's kind of how I've operated in it. That was my mode of operation, my modus operandi. And I always paired that up with my own personal quote that is, smile more. Let's see. Sometimes I have a hard time remembering my own quote. Basically is talk less, smile more, don't let them what you're for or what you're against or what you're for. So basically, like, make sure that your obstacles are not bigger than your dream, and then make sure that you're working behind the scenes, stay close to the ground so that you stay humble as well.
And it reminds me of there's a personal motto I have that I came up with. You've probably heard it before. So a little backstory on this motto is that I was so focused on the past. I was angry with how unhappy I was in the present. And so I came up with this motto, and it goes along the lines of, do not live in the past, but instead live for the present and the future. Because I was living in the past, like, oh, my life was so good when this happened, or when that happened, or when this happened. I was failing to see the opportunities that were in the present, or the ones that were coming, that were going to be coming. And so that's how I live my life. I don't really go into the past. Whenever people talk about the past, I'm like, that's the past. I look at the future. I look for the present and the future. And so, honestly, that's how I live my life, living for the present and the future. And I think that, you have to do that. And that's what Lindsey has done.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, Aaron, final thoughts.
Well, I think I'll just reiterate, just make sure that you don't make obstacles harder than they need to be. Then don't make them bigger than you dream, and stay humble.
Stay humble.
Yeah.
My final thoughts are this. Stay humble, like Aaron said. Lindsey, if you're watching this, that was an awesome video. Very impressive. I was impressed with it. I love the videography. And honestly, my final thought would be this: don't focus on the past, but instead live for the present and the future.
Mhm.
So with that being said, you ready to say the famous saying?
We'll try it again. I always botch it.
I will see you
In the next video.